Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Bitcoin and Beyond. I'm Melanie Carstens, and we are joined today with my very special guest, Louise Ivan from Ryder. Welcome, Louise.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Excited to be here.
Yeah, super cool to have you here, and
Mhm.
just to go through what's been going on with your side with Ryder. We're going to dive a little bit into uh, the man behind the crypto, and just a couple of, I don't know, just a very relaxed conversation. So I hope you enjoy it.
It's good.
And
I love relaxed conversation. I like a conversation that we're just like sipping coffee on the, on a
yes,
Sunday morning.
yes, we're just on a Zoom call having a conversation, and there's nobody watching.
Great.
All right. So you grew up on an island in the Philippines.
I did actually.
Yes. Okay, so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what was it like for you growing up there, and um, did it in any way impact the choices you made when it came to your career? So yeah, give us
That
a little bit of idea
Such an
about.
excellent question. I think this is great, right? I think the same as you and me. I think every person actually, the choices that they made now, especially what they're doing now, actually has something to do with the environment and context that they're raised with, right? So just a brief preface to the people listening. I'm actually from the Philippines. If you know, Philippines is like a made of islands. We're 7,107 islands in the southeast of Asia. And then I came.
7,000 islands.
Yeah, it's made of 7,000. We're an archipelago. They call it an archipelago because usually it's just one big island, right? But then for
Yeah.
us, we're made of 7,107 islands, more than 70 dialects as well. Usually there's like a few dialects, but then for us, we have 70 dialects as well in the nation. But I only speak one, sadly. I speak
I
the
thought
main
we
one.
had a lot. We've got 13 official languages in South Africa. I thought we had a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot. And then in terms of history, we were conquered by like Spain, then the Japanese, then the Americans. So there's like a shift when it comes to like the cultural perspective as well in Asia. And fun fact, it's the only Catholic country in Asia. As-
Really?
Yeah,
Catholic?
yeah, we're the only Catholic one.
That's mad.
Yeah,
How did that happen? Was that it's
it was the Spaniards that actually brought
right.
Catholicism in the Philippines, and that's why I have a Spanish middle name, for example. So my middle name is Valencia. It's
Wow,
like
yeah, I saw that on your thing. It's lovely.
a city in Spain,
Yeah,
close to like Alicante.
yeah.
But yeah, there's like a lot of history. Then for me, growing up, I think in the Philippines there's not a lot of like startup scene, and I think
Mm,
I was 15 as I can remember, and then I saw this YouTube video about digital nomads. I think 15 it was probably 2008, 2009, and then you see these guys on their computers working on their
mm.
computers in a beach on a coconut, like drinking coconuts. I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna have a job, probably this is it. I don't even know what the word startup is. I would just see these like tech guys. I think back in like then you're getting my age now. Back in 2008, 2009, there was just like tech guys on the beach, surfing, drinking coconuts, working on like tech. I think that was like so cool, And then
Yeah.
for me, it kind of like put my trajectory on where I wanted to go. I studied electronics engineering at first as well, So I studied in the Philippines, then I studied in Europe, just a pre context.
Right, right. Okay.
And then in the Philippines, I did like I think my family was always entrepreneurial. Like my dad is like a successful businessman. His parents were successful businessmen, and then it kind of shapes you in a way that
Mm,
you're also like probably gonna dabble into some sort of kind of entrepreneurship, right? And then for
yeah.
me, it's I always know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I don't
Mm,
know which vertical is it, but I always felt like I was born for it. I have a strong resonation on what being entrepreneur is. I like the highs, the lows. The what do you call this? The way you're just like truth seeker and you're always looking for information and finding the truth about things and then making decisions about it.
such
You
a
know.
beautiful way to put it. To put it, I love that. It's like being a truth seeker.
Yeah, truth seeker. And then I think it's always
Put it.
like when you do your first startup, I did my own startup, I think when I was very young. I learned the word about startup. Oh, I can do it. Startups. I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. Can have this bold idea. I'm gonna be like the next Mark Zuckerberg. I think it's like Mark Zuckerberg. Era then, and then of course it felt right. And then for you, it's so hard to just bounce back from it. Like, how do you actually take that failure and learn from it when you're just like, oh my god, my dreams has been shattered to pieces.
Mm.
So that's
That's
kind of where to start.
Don't you think that that's kind of when you learn like some of the best lessons when you fail?
Yes, agree. That's
You know,
why I
and
think,
it's the
but
kind of people who can get up and keep going and try
yes,
again. That's what kind of I think defines a true entrepreneurial spirit.
agree. I think that's one thing, that first thing that you and I are gonna agree on this call, right? If you look at most of the successful entrepreneurs, let's look at their biographies. Most of them have a common denominator, and that's like relentless determination. And then,
Mm,
of course, at 16, it's so hard for you to just accept the fact, right? I think at 16, you don't have the kind of mental model to just like process things. And then I was
yeah,
listening to this podcast called Founders, and they were saying if you took Steve Jobs as an entrepreneur back when he was like 20, and then you have a one-on-one with Steve Jobs at 40, he will knock out the 20-year-old
yeah, yeah,
instantly.
yeah, yeah,
So I agree with what you said. I think we really have to fail at that early age, right? Like,
yeah.
even later on, you always have to fail, because then it's like failure is like one of the best learnings you can get to actually evolve further.
Mm. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I think with anything, like you say as well, my dad was a serial entrepreneur, and my son, because my husband and myself work from home we run our own companies, and we didn't even realize he's 13 now. And only recently I said we were going to visit my brother overseas, and I was like, no, well, we can only go in this time because that's when he's on leave. And he was like, what do you mean on leave? So, and I suddenly realized he had no idea that he was so baffled by the idea that you had to work every day, that from the morning till the night, you couldn't just like cut out and go and do something else. And you would get the same amount of money each month. And you couldn't grow that. That's what you got unless you got promoted. Anyway, so I love that. I just thought, he's probably going to end up with the same kind of spirit, you know. Anyway, so yeah, you were saying you studied electronic engineering, did you
Yeah,
say?
just 1 year, because then I realized it wasn't for me. So
Okay, because I was going to say, so you started studying in the Philippines and then you went
yeah,
to the Netherlands.
yeah, I went to Netherlands to study as well. I
Yeah,
love
but now
studying.
how and you studied what is green IT?
So it's about how to make sustainable technology. I'm in Europe. I think they're
Okay.
very sustainable. So at university, we were trying to compute the carbon emission of Google search, for example.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because usually when you write code, right, you can actually write it very sophisticated, or you can write it in a way that it's like much shorter and it uses less computing resources.
Okay. So are you a developer or a coder? Do you do
No,
coding as well? Or
I,
what is
I will say it on this call. I studied IT. I learned how to code, but I'm probably one of the shittiest developer there is. But I'm very good at business. I think I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, and then
yeah.
I'm an operator, right? I'm an operator executor. Yeah, it's just, but somehow I'm good with like logic puzzles. The kind of like IQ test when you have the logic puzzles. I'm very good with it.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't think I can just sit at a desk and then figure out the same problem for like the next 12 hours.
Yeah. Like with coding, you mean? Like where
Yeah,
you've got to
yeah,
keep yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm looking at it a bit because of ChatGPT. I never have.
yeah,
But obviously because of this environment that I've now fallen into, I kind of want to just, we're all doing it now because of AI,
yeah,
and it's there, so why not try?
yeah,
So, but yeah, it's looking at all those little, and it's just like, can't you just make it easy? Like, just go like sentences, please.
yeah.
Um, All right. So then you studied green IT in the Netherlands, and then have you stay? Did you stay on? Did you? Are
Yeah, I'm
you
still here in the Netherlands. I live in the Netherlands. It's my
okay?
home base, and I switch places from time to time, right? Because then my family is quite sporadic. So my dad lives in the Philippines, my mom lives in America, so I get to switch in that kind of like route. So I go to
Nice.
America to visit my mom like twice to three times per year. Then I also do it in the Philippines the same amount, so they don't get jealous on each other.
Yeah. And so do you love it? Do you go back to the Philippines and just like
I love
kick back
it.
and just
I think you have this kind of journey at some point. Yeah, I hate it here. Nothing works. So much corruption. And then America as well. I didn't like. America was not for me. But now I'm getting older. It's all about, I think, timing and sequence, right? I think
mm,
America has its pros and cons. As an entrepreneur, it still is the one of the best playing field for innovation, and I salute America for that. I go there. If you watch the movie about like Silicon Valley, it's the same, right? You feel the energy, you feel the vibe. You're like, yeah, I'm in Silicon Valley,
yeah,
And
yeah,
then in the Philippines, the more I go back, the more I appreciate. Okay, it's like more like island life, more relaxed, more tame. I think being surrounded in different cultures and being able to live in like three continents, from time to time makes you appreciate one over the other much more, right? That I think
mm,
Europe as a country or as a continent, or the Netherlands as a country, has its pros and cons as well. Like the lifestyle I love, right? I love
mhm,
going to the gym, going out for dinner, or going out with my friends on a bike.
yeah.
I can't
It's
do that
amazing,
everywhere.
Amsterdam. It's one of my favorite places in the world.
And then I go back to America. It's like, oh, I have to drive to go to the gym. In
Yeah.
the Philippines, oh, nothing works here, so it's like 3 hours in traffic or something.
I've never been. I've never been to Silicon Valley. I'd love to go and see that. And I've never been to the Philippines either. I've traveled a lot, but
Yeah.
never to the Philippines. I
Now you
still can't get
haven't.
over the fact that there's 7,000 islands. I mean, I knew there were a lot of islands, but I
Yeah,
didn't realize.
it's 7,107.
Are they tiny? Like,
So you have tiny ones that you can even buy. So,
I know.
and they,
That's what I'm
yeah,
busy thinking here. I'm like,
yeah. I think
hmm,
Balaji should shout out to Balaji. Balaji, if you're hearing
yes,
this
buy an island
podcast,
in the
buy in Philippines and do your network state there. It's much cheaper than Singapore and much relaxed when it comes to the government, probably, and regulations as well.
Don't you love Balaji? I'm so obsessed with this network state idea.
Yeah, I think
And
he's a great guy that pushes a lot of experimentation and innovation in space, right?
yeah, yeah. I was looking at because I know Electra, Electra Frost. She was, if
Yeah,
you remember her from,
I
yeah.
know. Shout out to her. She ordered a few riders.
Did she?
She did.
Oh, go Electra. Yeah, so she was part of the first cohort of the network school. Um,
How was it? Did you know? Did she tell you how was
yeah,
it?
I've spoken to her. She's gone back now.
Oh well, she
So
went back. That means it's good.
yeah. So yeah, she really likes it. And she just says it's amazing. I said to her, like, when can I come with my family and
Yeah,
can we live there? Because it just sounds kind of idyllic. It's this idea of people, just sharing knowledge all day
yeah,
long and healthy food, exercising, um, comfortable, but all you haven't got like huge mansion with a whole lot of shit in that you don't want or need or
yeah,
that clutters up your life. Just feels like this very clean living,
yeah,
and then you kind of really in your head learning and because they've got people speaking all the time. She said like sit in groups and then they just kind of share knowledge and then they move around there and it's just lovely. So it sounds I don't know. Tell me, have you sipped coconuts yet with your laptop? Has your childhood dream of being
I
a
do, I do, I
coconut
did
sipping?
multiple times, and I get, I'm just like, yeah, it's nice, and then at some point you get over it. It's kind of, sometimes I like the island life, but sometimes it's a bit too slow, and
Yeah.
then the internet connection is also not a bit great. But like Bali is a good one for that one, right? Like you have
Mm,
everything, which is also nice. No, I think I'm very fortunate enough. I was able to travel quite a lot and was able to achieve those things.
yeah. Okay. And another thing that I found so interesting about you was the art side, which I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm,
I don't
yeah,
really say I don't really, you dig to me dig deeply. Yeah, I love art since I was a kid. So ever since I was
yeah.
little, I actually drew. I paint.
And I can see how stunning. I mean, I've seen the work on your website.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
It's
my alter ego.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I do a lot of I do a lot of random things, I think.
Yeah, but that's fantastic, to fulfill both your kind of
Yeah.
business side of yourself and your creative side. So
Yeah.
do you still draw a lot?
Not as
Or
much as I want, right? I think, if everything goes well, I want to pick it up at some point, but then just really focus it. But now I'm just full blown on Ryder, like this entire, because there's a lot of things, right? Like product design, manufacturing, growth, marketing. It's just so complex. And then I feel like it fulfills my creative side in some sort of way.
yeah.
you know. But then you can see it when you see me at a conference. I think Peace Media will know. It's like, oh, Louis here
Yes,
because
yes,
I
he met you. Yeah.
yeah, because then he will see how he dresses. I like dressing up as well. Like that's like my creative side. You can see. Oh, it's quite creative because then you can see on
Yeah.
the way I dress, my tattoos. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. How many tattoos have you got?
I didn't even count. That's a good question.
Have you got a lot?
I have a lot. Try to hide
Really?
it, especially with my investors. They don't like it.
Yeah, okay, we won't. No tattoos.
Yeah,
We'll cut that out. I want to read this because it's on your website and it's so beautiful.
yeah.
Visions through my mind, applied by my hand with a slice of my heart.
I made that poem when I was 16.
Really?
Yeah, I made a poem. I journal quite a lot as well. You're probably like these guys all over the place. I think sometimes, when you're on a plane, I think for me, when especially in crypto, you travel so much on a plane, I have a notebook. And then it's just in a plane, there's no Wi Fi. I don't open my PC, and sometimes it's time for me to reflect, right? And then for me,
Yeah.
I try to reflect what I just want to write, and then those are the things that I write. It's like
Mm,
my thoughts from like just random thoughts, or things reflection that I want to reflect from like this year, past year. I don't know. I have it always on planes. No, and not anywhere else, but just planes. It's
yeah, but
like
I
for
suppose you've got
me,
nothing to do. You just stuck there
yeah.
in a chair.
It's like
So
a
it's a good
moment of I was like, oh, a plane. I usually hate planes. It's like it's in my moment of reflection, trying to question my entire existence again.
Well, it's very good. It's very good. Do you like you just keep them for yourself, right? They
Yeah, I have a
just
notebook.
so you don't blog or anything like that.
No, 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 that no. No, it's so hard, right? Because then for a writer, I think now we have YouTube videos, and I was like, I don't want to be a blogger, but now it's like you're getting more used to it, right? And then for me, it's like I think the first time I went into a podcast, it was also kind of like hard. It's so hard to listen to yourself. It's so hard to just like look at yourself, your video. You're like, I
Funny
still
that,
can get
isn't it?
used
I
to it.
know.
I can't get
Peace and
used
I
to
were
it.
just actually talking about that now before you came on, and we were just saying, like, I remember when I first started doing it,
Yeah,
I would just my eyes would just start going like, and then oh no, hang on, back, because it's like when you walk past a mirror, it's
yeah,
difficult not to look at it. It's your reflection,
yeah,
But then you get to a point where, but it's the same thing, looking at myself, listening to myself recorded. And now I make those clips, that go out. I put out a clip
yeah.
every day. So I've got to go and look at it. And I still just, but anyway, you get used to it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So let's talk about crypto.
Let's do it. So,
When that entered sort of into your radar, did you come straight to Bitcoin? Was it something else?
no,
Tell your
no.
entry story, your lift off
My
story.
Yeah, I think I've told this many times, especially to community members. I went to crypto 2016,
Yeah.
and I think I'm very transparent about it, right? Everybody, I'm a speculator like everybody else. I think most people that comes into crypto is for the gains. I was there for the gains,
Yeah.
and I think 2016, I remember that's like it started picking up, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, do you know about this thing called Bitcoin?" I was like, "No, I don't know it." 2016, and then we look at and say, "Have you heard about this thing, Ethereum? It's like the world computer." The founder actually plays Dota because I played Dota before, and then they were talking about building it on blockchain. There's a lot of concepts that my friend was dropping that I have zero clue. Of course, what clicked back then was, oh, it went from like $30 to $70. I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I'm a student. I was studying already in the Netherlands. I'm a student. This could be like a really nice side hustle, right? So then I looked it up, and that's how I knew about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I was a speculator like everybody else. I made a Twitter alias called Crypto Rick. You know the Rick and Morty
Yeah.
series? I
Yeah.
made a meme account. I was already a
Uh,
memer back then, and I was just
yeah.
like creating memes. And then for me, I understand the token game quite well, right? So back then, 2017 era was ICO. It's like white paper this, white paper that. If you have,
Hmm.
there's so much. I think the space have evolved so much because back then, if you said you're from 2016, 2017, they think you're new because then
Yeah.
the OGs were there, the 2011,
Yeah.
2013. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like, oh, I'm kind of new in the space. And then now that I say 2016, I'm like 10, 9 years. It's
You're like
crazy.
a massive OG for some of us.
Yeah, and then for 2016, 2017 ICO era. So for example, Louis and Melanie could team up and we're gonna release a white paper about decentralizing podcasts. And it will be a hit. Whatever white paper was there, it will be a hit. And everybody was just raising millions of dollars, right? Without it was pre-product.
That is
With
so wild.
Yeah, with the promise of we're gonna bring the product to the market. But then we're gonna touch upon it later. But everybody has their own kind of narrative. And then for me, it was like, oh, and then I was there for the games, right? And then Bitcoin shoot up to a few K, or like a few K, 1,000, 2,000, 3K, 2017. I remember it clear as the sky. It was December, 20,000. It's like, woo! Bitcoin, and then you also have like a few altcoins, right? So back then you have Stellar Lumens, there's Sophia TX. There was so many Power Ledger. There was so many tokens that were just like have their own narratives that they just
Yeah.
launched the ICO, opened the market, no product.
Yeah.
That was the whole shebang, and everybody was just like going mainnet in like they have their own roadmap that they were following. And then the price action back then will move depending on announcement because back
Mm.
then it's still like the wild west. So for example, Melon, our startup, the ICO that we're doing to decentralize podcasts, we're gonna say we're gonna have a big announcement tomorrow, and then we're gonna put a poster of Joe Rogan, and everybody will speculate, oh my god, they have a partnership with Joe Rogan. And then our token, I call it Restream token, will go up instantly. So for me, it's like the NFT back. Just like think of NFT, but then with ICOs. And then
Isn't
this
that
game,
wild? That
yeah,
that is so crazy to even think of. I mean, a lot of fun. Sounds like a roller coaster. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
it was fun until you lose money, right?
yeah, until
I
then.
think everybody in crypto is smart and everybody's a trader until the bear market comes.
Yeah.
And then I think it hit me. I was just like, okay, I made money. I told my parents, well, I'm brushing my teeth and I made $3,000. I think I'm pretty good for my age. And my parents were like, no, that's not true. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true. Like, I trust me. And then the bear market it crashed, right? Bitcoin crashed hard from 20K, went down phew, to $3,000, like just like bear market, and then all the tokens just went
Sure.
down hardcore. So if your portfolio is like 120,000, you can expect that it's just like limping few K dollars, right?
Yeah.
So your
Yeah.
initial investment, you're actually negative. So for me, that's when it hit. Okay, this is actually gambling. But then
Yeah.
for me, instead of going, okay, I exit, what I did is, okay, I really need to learn the fundamentals.
Mm.
What is this blockchain thing? What is Bitcoin? I think it was 2017. And then I saw the TED Talk of Munib. And I was just like, this guy's TED Talk, he's talking about creating a new internet. He seems legit. He's from Princeton and it's a
Yeah.
TED Talk. So I was just like, I went down the rabbit hole, read the white paper, and then I was like, oh, I really want to work for these guys. I think they're the one. If I'm gonna bet my one thing, my time and effort after being crumpled by the bear market in 2017, it's
Yeah.
this guy, the Blockstack guys. And I remember clear as the sky. I worked for a few companies in the Netherlands, and then they have a Slack group back then, still Slack. Slack message to Patrick, which was the head of growth. I was like, yeah, I can help you grow the company. Name is Louis. He's like, we're not hiring. I was like, you're not hiring. Shame. It's fine, Patrick. He said, you can be a community member. So I was like, I don't want to be a community member. I want to be like a member.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah. And he's like, no, we're like an open, you know how crypto is. We're an open source community. You know, you can just help. And I was just like, and then I was just so persistent that I created a deck, you know, and I showed them, oh, this is what I can do. And then I see back
Wow.
then that they were not doing meetups, but then I see others projects doing meetups. I said, oh, I can do a meetup. They're like, are you a meetup organizer? I was like, no, but I can do
Wow.
everything. So I did the poster design, organize meetup, and I was just like doing all these things that they didn't
Incredible.
even
That's an incredible
ask.
story.
And then 3 months later, they picked me up.
Incredible, hey.
Yeah,
That just goes to show you
yeah, told you,
that,
relentless determination.
yeah, that is, I mean, that's such a, it's really an incredible quality to
Yeah,
have because, you first, I don't know, it's very rare that people can be like that and just go, right, I want to work there. I'm going to phone them and tell them. And when they don't accept me, I'm going to just carry on and do it, So
yeah,
that's really amazing. And
yeah. So
that was so you discovered Stacks through this TED Talk watching Manib.
yeah,
And at this time, what were you actually doing in real life? Like,
I
what
was
was your
working for an IT. I don't know if you're familiar with IT, with infrastructure in just like more legacy IT. So I was a business analyst working as a consultant for Red Hat and OpenShift, those kind of things, you know.
okay?
And I had two jobs. I don't know why did I do that to myself. And then my other job was I was working for a startup that's more teaching doctors how to operate through VR because I was like, yeah, I can actually learn different things. Yeah,
Doctors how to operate through VR.
it's like I think it's too early. I think they're closed now. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that is like a bit, but I
Yeah,
suppose
I
maybe
was a
we're
data analyst, meaning I was
anyway.
doing all the Excel spreadsheets. I had a fancy title though, which was nice, good for my
Yeah.
CV, for
Yeah.
stat for Blockstack, even though they didn't look at it. But yeah, and then
Okay.
I
So
was still
then,
studying at the same time as well, so I had like those three juggling things.
yes.
Yeah.
And then you still applied for a whole new job at,
Yeah, but I wanted to break into crypto. You know,
yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like you asked me, okay, what got you hooked into crypto? The moment I learned about Bitcoin, it was just a change. And then a big shout out to Patrick again, because Patrick is like, I think what he did right for me was he recommended a few books that I read to really like get me into the space. For example, the Sovereign Individual, the Bitcoin Standard, the classic ones, right? And then for
Okay.
me, oh, it kind of makes sense. The whole system is rigged, you know.
Yeah.
And then for me, as a 2020, I think I was 23. I forgot my age. Around those time, right? 2024, I was just like, okay, I'm a millennial or Gen Z, whatever you call it. I'm super passionate, and if I'm gonna work for something, I want it to be an impact. So, and I think this is it. So for me, it kind of clicked that I got the whole shebang.
Mm.
You know.
Um, yeah, I wanted to ask you something else, but I've been distracted by it now. Um, yeah, so let's think where I was with my questioning with you. Okay, so I'm just trying to put the whole kind of story together in my mind, right? So now you saw this TED talk from Manib,
Yeah.
and you went, okay, now I'm going to work at Stacks, and then you started off working in communities because that's a huge part
Yeah.
of your history as well, right?
Yeah.
Is community building.
Yeah. So I work with the community. I think even after before I ended my career at Stacks, I was still doing community. You know, I love it. I love talking to people. You know, and I think it's like one of the most precious things in crypto, right? You get to connect with people that you haven't met before, and then
Mm,
you bond over a mission that you guys believe in. And for me, it
yeah.
was very special back then. You know, and I really went for it.
Yeah, I love that. I love the community side of things. I love the fact that we can just even you and me, you
Yeah.
know, meeting like this, getting to know a little bit about like I got to know about the The islands, I didn't know there were so many. I'm not going to forget for a long time. I love that fact. Okay, so let's talk about communities. We love them. What is it about? Because obviously, I mean, when you read these books, that's actually what I was thinking about, is the books, like The Sovereign Individual, especially that. Once you've read that book, you can't unsee it.
Yeah,
It's one of those things, or unread it. You've read it and now the system is messed. I need to. And one of the things is this idea that if we're going to be trustless, and we're going to, if we want to be faceless and nameless by being anonymous and whatever, that trusting in a community and the community trusting in you is so important, right? So if we're going to say we want to talk to people who want to build a community, who are coming into crypto and who have that same feeling, like, okay, I want to go in, the same feeling like you felt when
yeah.
you came to Stacks. Is that sort of relentless, just going onto Twitter Spaces, DMing people, creating, maybe just talk through some pointers for people who might, because you're a community leader, that are important for people to kind of bear in mind when they are wanting to start building a community or keep their community vibing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think one thing, right? I think for community building, there's other people. I think for me, okay, I'll take myself as an example. That's why I think I really like community building. I think when I first joined the Slack group of Stacks back then, Blockstack, I think I was just so afraid to type anything on it, right? I have the kind of intimidation. I was like, oh my God, these guys are so smart. Maybe the question that I'm going to ask is not really the right question. So for me, I resonate with that kind of feeling a lot. So when they hired me, my main job was in my thinking, okay, how can I make people welcome? Because I know I was not.
Right.
I know for a fact if I'm a speculator and then I go deeply into the space, I'm definitely kind of afraid, right? There's some sort of like I think crypto is very intimidating, right, as a space because there's so many jargons, there's a technical concept, and then you just see them on Twitter outdo each other. And then as
Mm,
an spectator coming in, it holds a lot of weight for you on how you do things as well, right? So for
yeah.
me, when I did community at Stacks, my main goal was, okay, I want to welcome everybody with the best of my ability and make sure that no question is a dumb question, right? So for
Mm,
me, whatever you ask, I try to deeply explain it and even try to hop on a call back then and just like help point them in the right direction. And that was the start for me.
I love the way you say that you kind of, and that's such a good thing, I think, for everybody to know, is like, you feel like you're the only person who feels that level of intimidation. You think you're the only person who now is too scared to write on the group, because everybody else, they're writing and it's, you know, I remember that feeling going into Megapond back in those days and literally just finding myself in a cold sweat, just wanting to say, hi, you know. Um, so in any community, I think
Yeah,
that we've all got to know that we all feel that way. It's stressful for everybody to, it's not just you that is sitting there. It doesn't matter how confident. I mean, you're very confident or a very, tenacious person, and yet you still also felt that insecurity, you know. I mean, I'm sitting here doing this and I still, when I'm about to write something on all those DM groups that we've got going
yeah,
around, I'm like, you know, so it's very intimidating. Okay, so but that is also very good advice. Make people feel comfortable,
yeah. That's
do
like the
your
first
best.
step, right? So if I
Yeah,
see you join the Slack or Discord group, I break the ice instantly. I will be like, "Hello, Melanie. Where are you from and what brought you here?" You start with a simple question, and that already
yeah,
will give you a feeling. Okay, it's like a basic question that I can really answer.
yeah,
And then that sort kind of like bonds us, and then from then on you can build it from there.
yeah.
It's like you go out in a club, right, or at the bar. It's not like you drop all this like technical stuff on one person. You start with a basic introduction, so whatever conversation that you have, it's not rocket science. I think whatever, if
Yeah,
there's some person that interests you outside, you do the same thing, right? You go over
yeah,
the basic, or maybe you have a really nice hook
Mm.
to do an introduction. So that's pretty much
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing and very true. But you seem like such a warm, you know, such a warm kind, that's a warm and a very kind way to think, you know. So yeah, I like it. Um, okay, now so we're in just trying to get the whole timeline all together. So uh, in the community, and then how long until, so what year was this? Let's just, was it 20 some, was it
2018, I became a team member at Stacks, of Blockstack. Yeah.
okay, so you are OG.
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was a contractor. I started 2018, October, if I can remember.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I worked my way up through.
I know. Look at you now.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long? Tell us about that. So obviously we know we're going to move towards Ryder, but now
Yeah.
there's this. So we've started. So take us on that journey between starting off and then
Yeah.
towards to how you
So
found Ryder.
so for me, I witnessed the project evolve, right? So that's why for me now, I think because I've been away from Stacks for quite some time, but then for me, I saw it from, I think when it was like a white paper, the ICO through Coinless. It was called Blockstack back then, right? And then switching to Stacks, the whole rebrand, pivoting to like smart contracts on Bitcoin. So for me, it's just like I see the path right. So,
Yeah.
and for me, I was a contractor. I did mainly meetups in the beginning because then they're like, oh, this guy can throw meetups. So I was doing a lot of meetups because
Yeah.
they thought it was Shannon. Shout out to Shannon, who's like the head of events at the Stacks
I didn't
Foundation.
realize she's been there as well for, she's like also 2017 or 2018, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was under Shannon back then. And
Wow.
then, do you know Freezer?
Yes.
Yeah, so Freezer, for example, I would go to Berlin. They will bring me to Berlin, and me and Freezer were gonna do a meetup. And then we do a meetup. I can remember it as clear as a sky, or like even Munich, for example, and there were like 9 people, and then we were preaching about Blockstack. Those were the days, and we're like trying to bring them to develop on the blockchain. And
Yes.
now if I go to a conference, it's crazy that you see like 600 people.
I
You know,
know.
you know.
I saw an image. I mean, we've all seen that. The guy, I think, when was it? I think like 2012. I don't know when it is. You might know, but there's that image of that guy at the Bitcoin. He's like, it says like Bitcoin conference then, Bitcoin conference now,
Yeah.
and then you see him, and it's like like a dude at a podium, and there's like 5 people in the audience.
Yeah, it's Andreas Antonopoulos. He's great.
Yeah, and because I'm sure I've actually seen the video of
Yeah,
that. Is
yeah,
there a video of it? Because I know I saw the picture
yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. There's a video of it as well. He was one of
Yes.
the. I met him through Blockstack, because then Blockstack before brought all these like OGs like Naval Ravikant, Balaji, Andreas. They were like have heavy speakers during events, and then
Wow.
and then when you go to like an event of like Blockstack, not Stacks, right? It was just like, oh my god, the gods are here, like all these like famous people that you read on the books, like George
Yeah.
Gilder, who wrote Life After Google, Still Nifinser, who wrote about. They're all there.
Wow.
And I asked for a photo. I was like, can I take a photo? Can I take a selfie? I
And
still have it.
did you get
Of
all
course
the
I
photos?
did. Of
Yeah.
course. It was like, when you're like you're a spectator, I was like, I've come far. I was able to meet the legit guys. I met Balaji as well. Balaji is like a different breed. I can see where he's coming from.
I would love to meet him. What was it? What? Yeah. I mean, is
It's
he?
different.
Yeah.
You can see he can see like, okay, I really get why Balaji is Balaji. I remember because I was doing this speaker wrangling for Blockstack, right? Because then I told Shannon, can you please put me on the speaker wrangling? Because then if I was on the speaker wrangling, that means I get to meet all the These guys.
But were you actually going to speak, or were you just
No,
on
no.
the?
So a speaker wrangling means the people who go on stage are gonna be like, "Are you okay, Melanie? Do you need some water?"
Oh, I see. Would you like a towel?
Yeah.
Water?
So for me, I was just there to make sure
Ah,
that they're comfortable, and if they need anything, I could actually. I'm. So when I joined Blockstack, I was just support. So
yeah,
basically, I told them, I can do anything you guys want.
right,
So,
right.
yeah, and I remember when Balaji asked me, he's like, "Oh, my font is wrong." So I was just like, "Oh my god!" He asked me to change the font. There's like so many slides. How can I do it in like 2 minutes? This is chaos. And then he saw me struggling, and then he just realized I'll do it myself. And then he went to the console terminal on his laptop, and then write few lines of code. It was done. I was like, okay, he's really Balaji.
Wow,
I know.
what memories to have. I mean,
I
can you
know.
imagine, you were saying just now, like, you when you got into Bitcoin 20 I think 18 or 19,
2016.
2016. You kind of, there were these people who were like the early days guys. Can you imagine these stories you're telling now in like another 10 years time? You're going to have these mythical characters who have created this entirely new way of operating on every level, socially, economically. And you're going to have these stories of asking them for photographs backstage, and Balaji asking you to change his font just before he
Yeah.
went on.
Or it
Don't do
could be you, right? I think that's the beauty of crypto. You don't know who's like the people that will actually shape the narrative, right? It could be you, it
that.
could be me, it could be them, or maybe their era is over because it kind of like
Mm.
switches over time. So I'm happy. That's why I'm always happy to jump on podcasts like this because you just never know, right? Like nobody holds the magic crystal ball. Maybe tomorrow, like in the next 2 years, you're like super popular, and then I was just thankful that I can like, yeah, I can screenshot. Actually, did a podcast with Melanie 2 years ago.
Yeah, I feel that you're a lucky charm. So I feel now I actually am going to be very successful because you
Yeah, you
have,
should be. I think that always you should always look for that North Star, right? Like the
yeah,
conviction must be very, very high. You will be, you should be, and you can be.
yes, namaste. um, yeah, exactly. Be positive. You become your language.
Yeah.
You become what you say. Um, I read this thing somewhere, and it said, "Would I still be beautiful if the words I said were written on my skin?" And it's not, it's like we have so much negative self-thought, or that it actually it makes negative things happen. So with the kind of attitude that you've had, I think it's very inspiring for people who are trying to enter an ecosystem, or who are trying to understand this world and how to get into it, because nothing has trained us for this.
No.
There's no training for it. And I was reading today, somebody was saying on, something on Twitter, he's worried about what the future is going to look like for his children because of what's happening now, with AI. And I started writing a whole like response, because I just get so annoyed at like the stupidity of some of these things. No offense to anybody, but it's like, my mom, the jobs that are available for me weren't around when my mom had jobs. That's what happens. That's evolution. So yes, it's going to take jobs. Yes, it's going to bring new jobs. What is your feeling about AI? Let's get sidetracked.
I love it, right? I think okay, let's take Ryder as a company, right? So for us, okay, it's 7 people full time. We have a few contractors here and there, but then in terms of efficiency and the output, it can actually multiply it. So instead of a 7-person team with AI, we're actually a 30-person team, right?
Yeah.
You don't need much more. So there's a lot. So even as an entrepreneur, it gives you a lot of advantages that you haven't had before,
Mm,
right? To be able to synthesize information within one prompt is ridiculous.
mm.
You went to the library. I went to the library. You know how it is to go to like the card catalog, find a book, and just like, it's the wrong one. And now within one prompt, done. I
Mm.
think, but like any technology, I would always say it's like crypto, it's like blockchain, right? But at the end of the day, technology is made by people to actually make us better, right? But then
Yeah.
it can be used for either good or bad. It's only dependent on the user that actually use it. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, it's up to us how we will use it, right?
That's beautiful. And there's going to be bad actors no matter what you do. You can have the most stringent laws. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's still going to be bad actors,
yeah,
So it's yeah, I feel it's making. I actually feel if you use it properly and you really, instead of sort of going like, oh no, it's going to ruin humanity, it's not going to go away if you don't like it. It's
yeah,
here and it's
yeah.
staying. So you
Agree.
want to be kind of one step ahead of it, or at least you'll never be one step ahead of it, but you want to be on top of it and understand it, because I feel like um, I'm learning so much on a daily basis because any question I have, any thought I have, like you say, I would have to go to when I was at varsity. It was exactly that, a case of sitting on a table, like books like this on your table, paging through them, paging. I was sitting at home and I wanted to know something. I couldn't just get the answer, you know. Whereas now I can lie with my eyes closed on the couch. Yesterday, we did an entire, because I work in music and fine art in real life. And my assistant and I were lying on the couches in my lounge with my laptop between us, and we had the agent on and we were saying, okay, do this, do that. I'm like, I'm sorry, where is this is not living the dream?
Yeah,
you know. And we're just talking to it and it's responding. We're like, okay, ask us all those questions one by one. Incredible.
right.
So
It's fascinating, but I think it goes okay. Let's do like a side by side analysis, right? I mean, they did the same thing to crypto or like any other kind of technology, right? So when crypto was first beginning, they're like, oh, it's a scam. It's not good. It's just for laundering money. It's not good for us. I think any kind of new technology, there's always gonna be skepticism
mm,
then from adoption, right? And I think
mm,
AI has it now, and it's fine, and then people will adopt it later, slowly but surely. Yeah,
mm.
I mean,
It's
Bitcoin is now 110K. So I saw
right.
it at 1,000.
That is wild.
I
That
wish I
is,
bought a lot, but I didn't.
I know. It's so annoying. And the people, I was chatting to a girl the other day, and she was living in Berlin
Hmm.
in the early days. And there were like this street that you could apparently go down and you could buy burgers and beers and, you could buy things with your Bitcoins. And she would be like, we would just go and buy like a burger for a Bitcoin. And, it was just like play money. It was monopoly money, and she was saying like, yes, how do I
Yeah,
feel now blowing,
it's so
10
funny.
Bitcoin a month?
Yeah, you said that because then during the first when Bitcoin was made, they had a faucet. It's like testnet, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can just click and then get Bitcoins. It's great. Back in the days, like when Bitcoin first
If we
started, they
had a
had like,
time machine, that's what we need. We need to find somebody to build us a freaking time machine so
I
we
wouldn't be
can nip back
surprised
to
if
the
there's already
present.
one.
Pardon?
I
Oh,
wouldn't
there
be
is already.
surprised or there one. Did you watch the series? I see The Simpsons. They're like they try to predict. They're
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
writer actually lives, has a time machine or something.
It's quite phenomenal the how, way the Simpsons works,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. 'Cause they were. I'm not sure, but like I
There's a
think they
lot
were.
of stuff in there that they
Yeah,
predict.
yeah. Very on point.
Yeah. Amazing. I love it. My son's obsessed with that at the moment. Okay, so let's go back to we got a bit sidetracked there, but I love a sidetrack. Um, so uh Blockstack, early days, doing meetups. How many of you were there at that time?
I think I was employee
Because there
number
was no
10.
but there was no trust machines or hero or anything. It was just Blockstack.
Only one company. I think I was 23 or number 24.
Wow. So
Yeah,
tiny.
yeah. And then it changed to stacks, because then they released like the master design, and then it became
Yeah.
smart contracts on Bitcoin. And then when we launched, and then back then I learned so much that I wanted it to evolve more role, right? Because then I was the community partner. I built the community. I did 32 countries, so Stacks had,
Wow.
so
Did
from,
you travel around, or
I
did you do
traveled
a
quite
lot
a
of
lot
it?
for meetups, but then there was also a lot of virtual, so that we were like activating a lot of
Okay.
communities virtually as well. So in the end, there were like 32 plus countries and then 100K plus community members, you know.
Oh,
And then for me, I was just like, okay, I did the community thing very, very well. And now I want to switch to more, I want to really understand the token economics kind of game,
mhm.
right? Like the market making and all these kind of things, exchange listing. Because then for me, it's like kind of the end game, right? Because
Yeah,
if I understand how the whole market works, then for me, it's like I did really good for how I started in the space and how I'm
yeah,
gonna exit it afterwards.
yeah,
And that's why the next evolution of my role. So then when we launched the network stacks there, so it was like SEC, right? So then they need to pass like the Howey test. It needs to be decentralized. So then you need to split up into like a few entities. And that's why those were like spun up entities. And then I moved to the foundation. At the foundation, I became the growth lead, and then I was doing a lot of the exchange listing, partnerships, those kind of
wow,
things. Yeah.
wow,
So I learned the token side of things, which
yeah,
I'm very happy because then for me it's like an uncharted territory, things that I
yeah,
haven't done before. So for me, a lot of like learning and reading, how it all
yeah,
works, and yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I work some of like the biggest integration on stacks. For example, stacking on Binance. I work on that one.
Wow.
Yeah, exchange listing on different platforms as well. That was my main task.
That's incredible. It's also so nice, isn't it, to be in like a small team because you get to experience
Yeah.
so much of the company,
Yeah, that's what
and
I think. Yeah, that's why for me, I really like. Shout out to the guys at Stack. Shout out to Brittany. Shout out to Mitchell. I always tell them I just thank them so much because then they gave me the right resources and equipment to actually flourish on my own. Right? They gave you
mm,
resources to just be good at what you do. That's why I learn a
mm,
lot. Right? They're not afraid to delegate and just like
yeah,
make your own things.
yeah,
It was the best 4 years of my career. I really enjoyed it. I have I'm just nothing to say but praise to the guys.
yeah. That's amazing. It's a really awesome story. And then okay, so now Ryder. So this when Ryder enters the
Yeah.
okay. How did that come about? I mean, how did the
So
idea, what was the spark of in your
yeah,
head?
I always said it was not my idea, it was Marvin. Big shout out to my co-founder Marvin. It was Marvin's idea back then because when he was able to actually scrape private keys on the browser extension back then, and then so with your private keys exposed, he can actually gain access to your wallet, right? That's pretty much it. And then for Marvin, his solution was the only way to actually solve this problem is to create a separate device that's fully offline and does one thing, which is signing. And that's what hardware wallet comes in. That's the concept of hardware wallets.
Yeah.
But back then it's still quite early. You have a few players like Trezor and Ledger. So Ryder started as a grant. So yeah, at the foundation, there were. Do you hear that buzzing sound? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's happening?
I'm not
The zombie
sure.
apocalypse.
Yeah. So yeah. So at the foundation as well, they encourage us to do side projects, and it was
Mhm.
so Marvin became the technical lead of the foundation. It was his side project, our little side project together.
So
So
how
we
did you okay, so tell me about Marvin. So yeah, so let's go back to there. So you were at Stacks, was Marvin also did
he
you where
was
did
a
you guys
community member first at Stacks,
okay,
and
okay,
then but
okay.
he was like very good at coding, and then he became the technical lead at the foundation. And then we applied for a grant. Back then it was $5,000. We started with $5,000.
I actually used that as an example in something I wrote the other day
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
started Ryder with $5,000.
Yeah, because I
Amazing.
Yeah, because so for me, I think there's a lot of stories that you trace, oh, millions of dollars. Let's be honest here. Even if you raise millions of dollars, doesn't mean you're gonna be successful about it, right? I mean, it's very hard. Definitely, we learn along a lot of the way. I'm gonna release a lot of things about it in the next coming months because I'm preparing like my content pipeline, right? I did like 1 month of experimentation on Twitter, but now I'm ready. So, um,
What are you
yeah.
going to do? You're going to have a content platform.
No, because then we document everything at Ryder, right? Ever since the beginning. So I have a lot of content that I can put out in terms of like the learnings, the ins and outs, and what we did, what went wrong, what went great. But we haven't put it out for so long. But now that we're actually going to mass market, it's time to actually just load up the ammos and just like, you know,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, but we've been in stealth for so long, but then for us it's like the slow approach, right? You have one problem, you have a solution, and you bet on it very, very hard. It's like the total
Mm,
opposite of what most crypto guys do. Crypto guys build with the market, they build with the hype. That's why you see the NFTs. Everybody was doing NFTs. You see Bitcoin layer two. Now everybody's a layer two in Bitcoin. Everybody's doing wrap Bitcoin, and they build with the market. And for us, it's always, okay, we're going to pick one problem that we felt as well. And then we're going to build a solution around it and bet heavily on it.
mm,
That's kind of our approach.
mm.
Anyways, not the sidetrack. So that's how we started, me and Marvin. So he asked me when he was a community member before he joined the Stacks Foundation, though I wanted to do Ryder with him. But I was telling Marvin, I was at the pinnacle of my career. The last thing that I want is to actually jump into something very risky. Startups are risky. I told him I did a few startups when I was a kid. It broke my heart.
Yeah,
It shattered my dreams,
yeah.
broke me into little pieces. And I told him, well, let's make it. Let's do this. I told him, you should come back to me with a prototype of whatever you wrote on the blog, and then I'll take you up on it. 2 weeks later, he came back. And I was like, oh, and now I have to hold my end of the bargain.
Yeah.
And then that's how Ryder started. It was Marvin
Wow.
idea. We worked on the side on it together, but I was doing a lot of like the operations heavy, and then he was doing a lot of the R&D.
Where did the name come from?
It's called from the Dutch term because Marvin is Dutch, but then he lives in Canada back then. It's from the Dutch term "riedere," which means night, which means to
Night.
yeah, which means to protect.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
yeah. It's like a little, hidden Mickey if you watch Disney Channel.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we have like little we love our like little hidden things.
Yeah.
But we
It's
couldn't call it Riedere because it's not really that good, so we had to Americanize it, called Ryder.
But still, it's a great word. I love brands that are kind of like that. It's very strong, that
Yeah,
name, as a brand.
yeah.
Does Marvin live, where's he now? Because is he still in
Malta.
Canada? Malta.
Yeah, that boy is also all over, right? He live in Japan, he live in Singapore, and now he's in Malta.
So he's a
Shout
real
out if you
digital
guys are in
nomad.
Malta. Marvin also does the Crypto Mondays. He does like the Crypto Mondays with the guys there. So if you should come and hang out with them.
I love a meetup, an in real
Yeah,
life meetup.
they reignited it.
Okay. We have no meetups here in South
We should
Africa.
do one. I'll go
Yeah.
to South Africa and do one with you.
Yes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We need to. There is market here that
You're gonna be
is
surprised. Like you're gonna be
waiting.
surprised. People will show up, and you're like, "Why did you show up?" "Oh, I found you on the meetup," and
Yeah.
that feeling is just so fulfilling.
Yeah.
When you're like, "Oh, there's somebody actually interested in what I'm doing." You're gonna be surprised. That's the feeling that I got when I was doing the meetups at Blockstack back then. Like, "Oh, people actually show
Mm.
up." It was, I think, when I was ending the meetup, there were like 50 or 60 people max. When I was like ending it per meetup, which was great.
That's brilliant. That's a big
Yeah.
jump from like
Yeah, a few
less than
people.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's honestly, I think in this country it's so ripe for Bitcoin, stacks, crypto,
It is. Which part of South Africa?
Cape Town.
It's right. It's right. So when I was there, they did Capex. It's right.
Mm.
It's
Oh, were you
time.
going to, were you here in Cape
I
Town?
I was supposed to. Solana was actually gonna bring me. Oh, shout out to the guys. They were so kind. But I had an emergency, so they were supposed to bring me to Capex, Africa.
Oh, right.
in
Okay.
Cape
Yeah.
Town. But then I
Yeah.
had all the flights, but then I had to pull out last minute. Maybe it's the Bitcoin. It's like because they're like, oh, you're doing Solana. Maybe it's like the Bitcoin guys
Yeah,
working their
exactly.
magic.
Well, that's the thing. You got to come as a Bitcoiner, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Because I was gonna
But yeah,
go for the Solana event. There, Solana was gonna bring me for it.
how do you know the Solana guys? Was that for another? Is that another whole sidetrack
Yeah,
story?
this whole sidetrack story because I was at Stacks. Okay, let's say I don't have a hard stop. I really enjoy the conversation. So I was at Stacks, but I was building at Ryder. But then for me, there's a motorbike. Sorry, but then for
Okay.
me, it was always okay. The mission is bigger than Stacks, And for
Mm,
me, I always told Marvin, I find it so frustrating. I went to crypto in 2016. 8 years later, I go at the dinner table, and my parents ask me, "What is Bitcoin?" What do you do again for work? They don't really get it. Even
no,
my friends in 2016, 9 years later, they're still, I don't really get what you do.
I
My
know.
friends, eh? And then for me, it's such a shame. I work in the protocol level for 4 years. I do meetups. I try to explain it to people that are curious, but then what did we do wrong? And then for
Mm,
me, it was always I wanted to exit that kind of token game. I already knew I didn't want to be part of it. So for me, that's why I wanted to do more user abstraction, like Ryder, focus on the problem that people are really struggling, like seed
mm.
phrases, transaction sending, recovering their asset.
And these are legitimate things, and not everybody's doing it. Exactly how you were saying. It's like in the ICO stage where you could basically just go like,
Yeah,
I want to raise money for anything, for thinking. I want to raise money for thinking,
yeah,
and people would, I had a thought, okay, let's pump some more money in.
yeah.
So, but this is actually a real world. And I think I found that with so many of um, with almost all of them, with the people that I've met over the last couple of years with Stacks, they're people that actually seriously want to do something. They're not here for a ghost town chain, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think even if you look at with you, it's been a commitment. I mean, when did this start? What year did Ryder kick off in?
So I think, so the grants, I think 20, like 4 years ago, but then we jumped fully gone on Ryder like 2.5 years ago because it was an
Okay.
R&D project, right?
Yeah.
But then from that R&D 2.5 years ago, it took 2.5 years to actually 2 years in total to build it from concept all the way to mass production.
And how was that?
It's a lot
Like,
of learnings as well.
yeah, because that
It's
sounds. I mean, you've come from. This is like a whole
yeah, different.
different
Now
ball
you
game.
can
It's
see
not
why
like
I'm like
it's
very
easy to make a
curious and
blockchain because you can't
yeah,
see it,
yeah.
but this is an actual something. You've got to come,
Yeah, I have
so,
it here. I have for the Bitcoiners. I have an orange pouch as well.
ah,
It's here.
so beautiful.
Yeah, it's a different ball game. I think we were raising money back then for Ryder. I think pre-seed, and the VCs were like, "We really like you. We like you and Marvin because Marvin came from OpenSea. Fun fact, before Stacks,
Okay.
he was number 7. He knows Devin. Devin Fincher, the CEO of OpenSea,
Wow.
and they were like, "Yeah, we
The
really like you
early
guys."
days.
Yeah, they're like, "We really like you guys, but we don't get it. Why are you doing hardware? You have like zero background in hardware." We're like, well, if no one's gonna, well, we I don't know. Marvin and I think are just so bullish on the idea of it. We were like just like heavily. I don't know what we're thinking, to be honest. If I would go back then, I would tell myself, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
What
know. I
would you
think
say to yourself? Sit yourself down and go, would you tell
no,
yourself to carry on doing it though? Or would you
no,
tell
because
yourself to
I
not
think
do
we
it?
just had so much conviction that it would work, like
Yeah.
without zero clue what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's the reality, right? I think I was listening to this. I listened to, I don't know, I'm into podcasts these days. So I was listening to this podcast again, and it says that you can't judge an idea that it's good or bad because you don't know. You know, there is this guy in America. He wrote a paper about selling chicken fingers. And it
Yeah.
was his research paper in university, and professor actually gave him a C because they were saying, well, you didn't do your research because clearly there's McDonald's and you're selling chicken fingers. The guy at the moment is a billionaire, and he built one of the
Wow.
most successful chicken finger chain restaurant in the US because he did one thing good, which is do one thing and do it very, very well. And that
Yeah.
podcast learning was say you can't really judge anything because you never know. And this actually proves it. So for me now, if somebody comes to me with an idea, I was just like, yeah, I don't like it, but maybe it has a future, not for
Yeah.
me, right? Because you can't
Yeah.
really. So I think that I
Just
would,
because it's not for you doesn't mean it's
yeah,
not
yeah, that I
for
would say
somebody
that to
else.
my younger self probably. Like this is probably a bit risky. You have zero background in hardware, but kudos, you have determination and conviction. Good for you.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud. I think we did very, very well, right? Not a lot of people can actually produce hardware. Shout out to our CPO Julian. Without Julian, I think it's very hard to do hardware, right? You need that kind of secret sauce in Web3, which is a
Mm.
hardware guy. He's our hardware guy.
It's incredible. I mean, you've built this up basically from, I love the idea that for people who can build something out of nothing, who can take something that doesn't exist, not even in thought, and manufacture something that we can see. That's why I love music and art so much, and my career has been that, is because there's no song, and then there's a song, and so and that is a product, even though you can't see it, or but
Okay.
it's the same with what you've created. It is a beautiful piece. It's creativity. You need to be creative, to be determined, to be wily, to be an entrepreneur. You need to have that kind of like be able to pivot, or to be able to, you know so yeah. So and you've the interesting thing about Ryder is that you use different, it's not your traditional, there's no seed phrase, right?
Yeah, there's optional, so you can import and export it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but then during the setup process, we eliminated the seed phrase, right? So you only need to a few taps to secure your assets. So you have your Ryder here,
Yeah.
and then you have this thing called recovery tags. These are battery-free NFC chips, and then you have your phone app. So to get started, you just tap your phone app, you tap the recovery tag, and boom, you're able to create and back up your wallet. So everything works through what we call NFC. So it's the same technology as when you use Apple Pay or any contactless payment.
Okay. Okay.
So our tagline at the moment is the only wallet you can install in a crowded subway.
That is so cool. Yeah.
That's right.
That's very
Or in
cool.
a packed bus, or in an
Yeah.
elevator. I can change it all the time, to be honest.
Yeah. In a rocket ship.
Yeah, I should ping Uncle Bezos.
Uncle Elon. You
Yeah, I
should
think I think
ping
they're busy.
Uncle Musk.
I think they're busy. I'll text him, but I think he's busy.
Hey, listen, if there's anybody that I would believe
Yeah,
would be able to get hold of him
let's make it.
and
Let's make
make
it
him
to a
use the
deal.
rider is you.
Make it to a deal. I think let's make it to a deal now. I'm gonna look back.
Yes.
I'll make it happen. It's a good challenge.
This is a challenge. This is
Yeah,
the Bitcoin and beyond challenge.
yeah,
We're challenging you to have Mr. Musk have a rider.
that's a good one. That's a good one. That means my career is like I did it pretty well, and then I can do other things.
Yeah, you could have, so everybody who goes on SpaceX, they get their rider. Could they take their funds? They could take them to space and back, right?
Yeah,
That is cool. Take your funds to the moon and back, literally.
good tagline.
Yeah. All right. So, um, yeah. So now, where are you on the journey of Ryder? You saying you're going to ready to take it to market,
So
right?
we fully shipped. So if you pre-ordered, we actually started shipping, and we're sold out. So we shipped
Congratulations.
like more than 1,000 units, and
Okay.
then so if you order now, we're gonna go back this July, early August.
Okay.
And then for us, we're doing a lot of research now in terms of how we want to go to market, right? Because then for us, okay, we want to really like nail the go to market strategy. So we're talking to like a few people, doing a lot of research to really nail it. I think one thing I've learned as a founder is you can just ask people that are like two steps ahead of you and then learn from it, and then synthesize information, learn from their mistake, and then what you can do better.
Yeah.
Like talk to like a lot of people and then see how you can
Yeah.
actually apply it to yours.
Yeah, exactly. Because nobody's advice or nobody's ideas are, and exactly what you were saying just now when you were talking about being in the service, or what if, no question is a stupid question, no idea
Yeah.
is a stupid idea, no, it's all. So let's talk about, let's see. We spoke earlier about the sovereign individual, the book. And this idea, we use a lot of words in Web3: sovereign,
Yes.
decentralized,
Yes.
um,
Peer to peer.
missionless,
Yeah.
trustless.
Yes.
Um, what is your take on that? This is a bit of an off the wall question, but do you
Yeah.
think that the reason I ask is obviously with Ryder, you do you have to potentially do you remain completely sovereign or decentralized or invisible or whatever it is? Do people in the real world care about that? Do they say, because we've already given away all of ourselves to
Yeah.
Apple, or to, our eyeballs, our thumbprints, they listen, all day long, somebody's
Yeah.
listening to me, you know?
Yeah.
So does do people, I want to say normal people as if we are like not
Yeah.
normal, but do regular folks, do they care about this? Do you think they do? Do you think it's something that we're going to move forward with, or do you think it's something that we're going to shed because it's more just idealistic? Or
Yeah.
do you have
This,
any thoughts on that?
no, that's a great question, right? I think those definitions and terms is usually there's degrees to it, right? It's like security. Security is going to be different for you. Security is going to be different for me. The question is here is how do we actually design a solution that could cater to everyone? That's why, for example, for Ryder, Ryder doesn't actually touch anything, right? You only have the control over yourself and your backups, and then everything else is just basically within you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think.
But do you think those terms are terms that we're going to take with us into the future?
That's a good one as well, because then I went to crypto for the mission, right? I've resonated with those definitions, but I think down the road somewhere we lost it because it was very idealistic, like privacy, permissionless, decentralization. And then if you look at crypto now, even the past two narratives was NFTs, and
Yeah.
DeFi. It's just like the Wild West casino, right? I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of value extraction from retail user, and there's also a lot of value extraction from each other. But
Yeah.
then we lost that kind of being sovereign, permissionless, and then that's why for me it's like, okay, I went to crypto for this thing, how can we actually bring it back to those things? And I think we're entering that kind of era where the token game is kind of over, right? Like people learn it's all the same, right? 2017, 2021, even up until now with the meme coins, they're all the same. There's a few common denominators. The narrative, they change the narrative, it's all speculation, but then the market cycles are just faster. So I think now everybody in the space realize, okay, we're actually going back to why we started, which is, building this thing that is like permissionless, which is Bitcoin, sovereign, yeah, decentralized. I think everybody just it's like a cycle, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is true. Ebb and flow, ebb and
Yeah,
flow, you know.
yeah,
Now, you kind of started building on stacks, right?
yeah.
It was very much, has that now sort of moved on to a more sort of global experience? Or
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I touched this up briefly in this call. So Stacks was a launch pad, right? I think it's a
mm,
great experimentation, especially it's such a small community compared to other ecosystem. But
yeah.
Ryder's mission is our mission. I always tell the guy is okay, we want to change how people think about crypto. You
Mm,
want them to think that it's actually effortless, secure, more simple, more fun, and actually social. That's our mission, right? And then in
yeah.
order to capture that mission, you need to go beyond stacks. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
my barber knows Ripple. So the question is, how do you actually cater to this kind of mass market, right? So that means
Yeah.
going to more bigger ecosystems such as Solana, XRP base. And I think, and I was very an advocate of it ever since I was a stack. The guys knows I'm a multi-chain guy.
Mm,
I think Bitcoin is the king of all blockchain. No one is taking its spot. No one said, oh, Bitcoin is not number one. I'm not saying that,
mm,
right? I think it is
mm.
the king, but certain blockchain has their own use cases,
Yeah.
and Stacks has its use cases. I think the pie is so much bigger for everybody to actually win. I don't get why we should hate each other because they're just building on other things. I don't get that,
Mm,
right? I
mm,
think crypto at its core is a few things, right? It isn't a zero sum game. And if you read the books as well, like after Google, you can easily enter and exit any other protocols, and that's
mm.
what crypto is all about. You break down those walled gardens that Web 2.0 like Facebook, LinkedIn has, right? I could easily go into Solana and exit it, and go into Stacks and exit it. And that's the beauty of crypto. You have choices. So
Yeah.
yeah, everybody wins.
Yes, Ryder everywhere. That's what I want to see. I want to. One day I'm going to be like, see, I interviewed him. Oh gosh. Okay, so we have gone well over time.
Yeah,
So I think we'll have to sort of wind it down. I did want to sort of end off with something I've already asked you. So I think really for me now, let's just kind of sum up the Ryder, what people can look forward to, how people can get hold of you if they want, just all the kind of like find out more here.
yeah. Final. This is my little plug in. So,
Yeah.
guys, so if you find your traditional hardware wallets difficult, tedious to use, or you don't like seed phrases, the best solution is you definitely get a Ryder one. So Ryder one, in a nutshell, is it's the only hardware wallet you can install in a crowded subway, right? So two taps and you're safe. That's pretty much it. That's my pitch. And you can order it at Ryder.id. Type in your browser. You can even ask your chat GPT, and then you can follow the socials as well, which is Ryder_ID. And then we're rolling out a lot of features. Shout out to our community members. I just thank them so much because then you see all the unboxing on X. It's organic. We didn't tell them to post. So
Yeah.
then we're just very happy about it. And then if you guys want to be part of the community, just join Discord. We're currently in a controlled soft launch phase. So the basic features are there. And then in the next coming months, we're gonna roll out more features that will make it like a full-fledged app, such as like offering on-ramp swaps, and other fun things as well.
Yeah, incredible, incredible. Well, congratulations on this. I need to get my hands on a rider soon. So
Yeah, we're sold
I
out. We're on the next batch.
I know I missed it. I know
Yeah.
Peace ordered some.
Yeah.
Or Peace ordered one. Talking about Peace, I just want to say thank you so much to Peace. He's
Thank
in the
you. Thank
Yeah,
you,
for
please.
looking after us during the course of the show. And a huge thanks as well to the organized media and Bitcoin Live DB for hosting or for powering the show. So yeah, it's been a wonderful conversation. I've been chatting to Louise Ivan from Ryder. Please make sure that you check them out. I've got in the description below. I have got more information on how to find out more about Ryder. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved our conversation. I think you and me could probably
Thank
sit for
you.
hours and
I know.
for
I
hours.
really enjoyed it. I was just like, oh, I have like a 60-minute, time block. I was like, oh, but I really like the conversation. It's so nice. And
Oh,
then we definitely need to make a meetup. And I think that's like our next goal, right? Make a meetup in South Africa. No, I really enjoyed it, and it's such a breath of fresh air, right? It's just, we need more people like this in the space, just like breath of fresh air. This is what I want to crypto for. Thank you.
yeah. Oh, that's so kind. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
lovely.
Thank
I
you.
feel I actually don't even want to watch this back because I feel like my face has just been in this huge smile the whole
Yeah,
show.
thank you, thank you. This is why I went to crypto. This kind of like connecting people, conversation, and just like really exchanging. I learn from you, you learn from me, and then we're bonded by the mission. I love it. Thank you, thank
Exactly.
you. I really had a nice time. I think and I barely do podcasts. I'm like barely there. So thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, awesome. I did too. Have an awesome rest of your day or rest of your evening. And everybody, we are here every single Thursday at 12 p.m. ET on my X. On my X marks the spot, on my YouTube at Melanie Carstens. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for joining us. Night.